And just like they discovered America with a whole country full of Indians, just like they discovered Australia with the Aborigines there, they discovered Gladys Knight, they discovered Stevie Wonder, they discovered, and then when they discover us, that's when we're known. You see? Oh, this is heavy, man. I mean, you can't believe how wicked, how low down and rotten. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. You can't believe how wicked these people are to play games with your lives and the lives of your babies. Create a war just to get more money, to charge more interest, and send your babies to die for bullshit. Sin gotta be revealed, and I thank God that He put it in my heart. I don't have no fear of those bastards. I want to expose them all. To say, don't worry about me. Go ahead. You better worry about yourself. Excuse my language, but they are bastards. They're illegitimate children of God. Do you want us to call for our 400,000 black men and women that are serving in the armed forces of America to come out and come home for our fighters in America with the evil forces of racism? What we are saying to you now is that injustice brings its response. And this is why Thomas Jefferson said, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just and that His justice cannot sleep forever. Why are you trembling? God has already entered into the fight. The plagues are already here, and they will get worse. And as you plan to kill our people, watch what God does. You got to be sober, black man.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Put the crack down.
Put it down.
Put the pipe down.
Put it down.
Put the bottle down.
Put it down.
Pick up some knowledge that make you understand who you are.
Yeah.
When you know who you are, you don't want to defile yourself with some jive crap.
That's right. Teach us, brother. That's right.
When you know who you are, black man,
Yes, sir.
you want to rise up and be yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go on, brother. Let's go.
You got a family depending on you. You got a nation depending on you. You got a woman that wants to depend on you.
That's right. That's right.
And because she can't depend on us, she's trying to depend on herself. And in order to depend on herself in the white man's world, she got to use skill and wisdom and sagacity and then part her knees for the white man.
Come on now. That's right. Point it out to us. Spell it out.
We tired of that foolishness.
That's right. Yes, sir.
If you're a black man and you have any kind of pride at all,
That's it.
what kind of man is it that want to see his woman
Come on.
with the enemy? Do you feel good about that?
No, sir.
Well, how you think she feels? The truth shall set you free. So now, if the truth makes me threatening, and being courageous enough to tell it makes me threatening, what makes a black man non-threatening? Then if he's non-threatening, he don't belong to you. If he's non-threatening, he's their man, not your man. He looks like you, but he works for them. And that's a hell of a condition to be in. To have a man that you putting your hope in because he comes from your people. But he's not working for his people. There is not an Italian here, not a Greek here, not a Polish person, a Jewish person, an Irish person here who would vote for an Irish, an Italian, or a Jew to go anywhere if they didn't represent Jewish or Italian or Irish interests. You know that to be the fact. Why should we then settle for non-threatening politicians who rule and guide for others and do not stand for us when we are the majority who have elected them? Crossover politicians, they call them. You know what a crossover politician is? A crossover politician is like a crossover singer of songs. You know how it is. We start in the ghetto where we always start. And we start in those honky-tonk joints where we always start. Nobody hears us there but our own people. They pay 75 cents for a beer, $1 for a beer, and we sing, and the people go out and say, man, did you hear Gladys McKnight or Gladys Knight? And the Pips, they are something. And after 20 years on what they call the chitlin circuit, some white person comes in and says, wow. And just like they discovered America with a whole country full of Indians, just like they discovered Australia with the Aborigines there. They discovered Gladys Knight. They discovered Stevie Wonder. They discovered, and then when they discover us, that's when we're known. You see? Farrakhan has been speaking to black people for 36 going on 37 years. Now, I didn't get discovered. Until the great discoverer, the Christopher Columbus of black leadership, discovered me. I happened to be walking behind the Reverend Jackson, who had just a few years ago been discovered. The very word discovery and the way you use it is a racist kind of term. You're not interested in black people, but when we can make $1 for you, you become interested. When we can move you along, further your aims, your ambitions, your goals, you become interested in black people. But until then, you have no interest in us whatsoever. How dare you say that I'm bad for black-Jewish relations? What black people do you relate to? You don't relate to the black people on 43rd Street in Chicago, 63rd Street on the west side. We don't see a Jew. We don't know what you look like. So what kind of relation relationship am I messing up for you? You hypocrites. If you set up a black organization, somebody white knocking at the door, let me in. And if you don't let me in, you know, that's a racist group you're in. How many of you belong to Hillel? Ain't no black people belong to that, do you? Why not? Why not? You're not interested in that. You mean to tell me black people cannot have a black organization that speaks to black concerns without white folk in it? That's racism? Please. Yes, you're all practicing reverse racism. No, the problem is you are so frightened to see black people get together. You think we're always conspiring against you. So when we get together, you got to come and try to join us. That's not my subject. I didn't come here to say that. But I just wanted to ventilate some of these things that are on my heart for these hypocrites that write in the newspaper about Farrakhan. You don't know me. You don't know me well enough. Some of you have never heard me, never had a chance to question me. But I'm here tonight, thanks to these students. So I'm going to hurry through our subject matter. But if you will listen to me, and this is not an anti-white tirade or somebody that's against white people or against Jewish people or against Arabs or Chinese or blacks. That's not the purpose at all. The purpose for truth is not to condemn color, but to condemn wrong. When wrong is condemned by the presence of truth, the wrongdoer in the light of truth has his or her actions or thoughts illuminated for them by the presence of truth. This is mercy from God because it allows us to correct our actions. If our actions go uncorrected, they bring in their wake consequences that may not be good for the actor. Great nations like this one have gone to ruin because people were hateful of truth. They despised that which corrected them. What makes one despise correction? It is arrogance. Arrogance is a state of mind that blinds us to truth. For we begin to feel that we are better than, bigger than, above criticism. How dare you tell me that I'm wrong? Do you know who I am? Truth, frankly, doesn't give a damn. Truth doesn't care who you are. Truth doesn't care what your position is. President is not above truth. Pope is not above truth. Prophet is not above truth. King is not above truth. Truth is the root of the universe. The universe may pass away, but the truth shall remain. So truth is what our lives are given to serve. It is truth that evolves us. It is truth that nurtures us. It is truth that makes us come into the path of God and makes us reflect the Creator. Truth. Falsehood created nothing. Falsehood can never be sustained. So you are at this university paying tens of thousands of dollars. Your parents are for you, young students, white and black and Jew and Gentile, to get the truth that you may make a better life for yourself and a better world in which you and we can live. The problem is arrogance blinds us to truth. Look, there is no discipline that you are studying where the person who wrote the book has a knowledge of that discipline that is absolute. God didn't write the textbook. So if Freud wrote it, it has a lot to be desired. Socrates was brilliant, but he wasn't God. So if you read Socrates, if you read Plato, if you read Tillich, whoever you read, if you read Dewey, if you read Machiavelli, whoever you read, not God. So what you are reading is a person who has studied what the Creator created and drew from the creation his perception of the truth and wrote it down in a book and made a dissertation or wrote a thesis. And that became your book. So you're studying from a student who has not yet perfected the discipline. So if you are not trained to stand on the shoulders of the great thinkers, to look beyond them, then you become enslaved to that which is imperfect, and you become non-functional in a world that needs your mind. Listen, students. Listen. You are born for this day, for this time. Your minds are equipped to go beyond a man that wrote 100 years ago, 25 years ago, even 10 years ago. You must never be enslaved to your teachers. You must honor and respect them, but stand on their shoulders and move more toward the absolute. Knowledge is not a stagnant thing. Knowledge is an ever-evolving thing as we move toward perfection. But once you stop the evolutionary process saying, I got it, that's when you lost it. Because what we know you could put on the head of a common pin and it would have much room left on that pin in comparison to what is in the universe for us yet to learn. The fact that we have a problem with garbage, just think about that. Big problem. What are you going to do with your garbage? Oh, now, does that sound like trivia? Here's a barge going up and down the Atlantic Ocean filled with garbage, trying to find some place to dump it. Now, for 20 years, it's Earth Day. Isn't that wonderful? At last, after you all been in power all these years, better do something to protect the earth. The Native American could have told you that the day you met them. The Native Americans are the number one protectors of the environment. All their writings, all their speeches, all their old prophecies deal with environment. Why didn't we learn from them? Well, after all, I mean, they're nothing but savages, heathens. We are the great Christians who came to civilize these savages and teach them about the Lord Jesus Christ. You mean the Lord Jesus Christ didn't hip you all to environment? You mean one who came to lead and guide us into all truth didn't tell you to protect the earth? But greed, you see, arrogance, cause you to pollute the earth, pollute the air, pollute the water. Now you have a problem with garbage. But of course, you are studying economics. Isn't that interesting? And the Creator has no problem with anything. He recycles everything. What a masterful economist. But of course, God, let's leave him out of this, because what does God know? You put your little cheap knowledge above the knowledge of the Creator. And that's why you're in the condition that you're in.
Hello guys, I hope you have just watched that full video. So here is the big question. When black Americans are encouraged to serve in the military, should the conversation stop at patriotism? Or should there also be a conversation about what happened after the uniform comes off? Farrakhan's argument was that black Americans have sometimes been asked to fight in wars that may not directly serve the interest of their own communities. The deeper issue is whether people should simply follow political instruction, or whether they should think critically and demand justice and opportunities when they return. Now, before somebody says, so are you saying nobody should serve? Hold on, that is not the point being discussed here. The bigger question is about urgency. Is if you are willing to sacrifice your life for your country, shouldn't you also be willing to ask your country some serious questions? Because patriotism without question can become blind loyalty. And let's be honest, blind loyalty is dangerous. Even your GPS says recalculating when you are going in the wrong direction. And that is where the conversation gets even more interesting. Farrakhan criticized what he described as crossover politicians. So what does that mean? The idea is that some politicians can become so comfortable inside the large political establishment that they may lose sight of the specific problems affecting the communities that helped put them in office. But here is the uncomfortable question. When politicians enter the political system, are they supposed to represent the entire country, the community, their community, or somehow balance both? Because politics can be a strange game. During election season, everybody suddenly knows your neighborhood, suddenly they know your struggles, your concern, and probably even your favorite food. But after the votes are counted, the conversation can change. So what should a community expect from its political leaders? Should representation simply mean having someone who looks like you sitting at the table? Or should it mean having someone willing to speak about the problems affecting the people who send them there? And here is where Farrakhan's speech takes another turn. He begins talking about truth and arrogance. What happens to powerful nations when they become so confident in their own power that they stop listening to criticism? History gives us plenty of examples of powerful society that believed they were too strong to fall, and then reality walked through the front door and said, "Surprise! That is the danger of arrogance. When you become convinced that you are always right, you stop learning. When you stop learning, you stop correcting mistakes, and when mistakes continue long enough, they can become disaster. So, could this warning apply to modern politics? Could it apply to governments? Could it even apply to ordinary citizens? Absolutely, because arrogance isn't just a government problem, it can affect all of us. Sometimes the hardest word to hear are the words that tell us we are wrong. And that is why this conversation shouldn't simply become, "Do you agree with Farrakhan or don't you?" That is too easy. The more interesting question is, what can we learn from the argument? Can a person love their country and still criticize it? Of course. Can someone serve in the military and still demand justice at home? Absolutely. Can a citizen support a political party while questioning its leaders? Definitely. That is what critical citizenship should look like. Because here is the catch. If you surrender your ability to think critically, somebody else gets to do the thinking for you. And once somebody else controls the question, they can start controlling the answers. Think about it. If someone tells you who to support, who to believe, which war to support, and which politicians you must defend, at what point are you no longer participating in democracy? At what point are you simply following instruction? And this is where the discussion becomes bigger than one speech. The real issue is urgency. Do communities understand their history? Do they understand their political interests? Do they know what they are asking for? And most important, are they prepared to hold leaders accountable even when those leaders are people they once supported? Because accountability isn't betrayal. Sometimes accountability is actually love with a backbone. Now let's bring this back to the military question. Serving your country is one thing, but shouldn't citizens also be asking what their country is doing for them? Should a sacrifice be a one-way street? If someone risks their life defending a nation, shouldn't that nation also have a responsibility to defend their dignities, opportunity, and rights when they return? That is the question. And maybe that is why this speech continues to generate debates. It isn't simply about war. It isn't simply about politicians. It isn't even simply about Farrakhan. It's about power. Who has it? Who benefits from it? Who gets asked to sacrifice? And who gets to make the decisions? Now, here is the part that really makes you think. What if the most powerful form of citizenship isn't simply voting, protesting, or serving? What if it's learning enough about history and politics that nobody can easily manipulate you? Because knowledge changes the game. A community that understands its history can recognize patterns. A community that understands politics can recognize promises. And a community that understands its interests can ask better questions. And perhaps that is the central lesson here. Don't surrender your mind to anybody, not politician, not governments, not commentant, and certainly not me. Listen, think questions, research, then make your own decision. Because at the end of the day, the most dangerous citizen isn't necessarily the loudest one. Sometimes it's the informed one who quietly asks, why this war? Why this policy? Why these politicians? Why these sacrifice? And perhaps mostly importantly, what happens when we come home? That is the question Farrakhan's message forces us to confront. And whether you agree with him or disagree with him, or simply want to understand the argument, one thing is clear: these are questions worth having, because a nation becomes stronger when its citizens can love it enough to tell it the truth. So, what do you think? Should military service come with a strong conversation about justice and opportunity at home? Are crossover politicians a real problem, or is that idea too simplistic? And can a person be deeply patriotic while openly challenging the government? Let me know what you think in the comments, because this conversation isn't over. The uniform may come off, but the questions remain. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, please remember to subscribe, like, and also comment. Thank you for watching.